Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world. Welcome to Web3 Warriors, episode 79, featuring Astrid Pilla, founder of Meta Fashion House and also an expert on all things digital fashion. How's it going, Astrid? Thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
It is going great, David. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to reconnect and be on your show today. So thanks for
Definitely
having
happy to
me.
reconnect. We had an awesome conversation with you in Tangpoko exploring Decentraland last time. And this time I think we're going to go a little deeper into the fashion side of things. And I'm hanging out in your metaverse space at the Meta Fashion House in the spatial.io corner of the metaverse here. So we'll be looking at a little bit of art. And I see you got the long necky ladies on the wall there. It's pretty awesome. Big fan of Nyla for sure.
Yes,
but yeah.
I'm always trying to incorporate her artwork everywhere that I build anything. Her art is going to be there.
Awesome. Yes, she's definitely inspiration for sure. And really grateful for you to join us. I know that we're also going to be hearing from Siddharth from the Matic Studio, who's done a little bit of work in the digital fashion space as well. And I believe you've connected with in the Web3 fashion conversation. So really interested in hearing about the platform that he's working on as well at the Matic Studio. So he'll be joining us via audio when he can. So really looking forward to that. But yes, welcome everyone to Web3 Warriors. I'm your host, David Krome. I go by Krome in the metaverse. And today we're looking at digital fashion. And it's a huge conversation. I think out of all the brands that are really jumping into Web3 and the blockchain and kind of taking advantage of the digital assets, digital twinning, I think fashion is the obvious no-brainer. You know, I think we've seen some big names come into the space already, and we've been hearing about a lot more coming in. So I look forward to hearing about how Astrid's really seen that firsthand in New York and other experiences with the Digital Fashion Week and what they're building there. But a little bit about, you know, what I've seen so far and what I'm really excited about is the idea to actually kind of improve the sustainability side of things and the idea of really supply line kind of being more transparent and accountable and really understanding, you know, how materials are sourced based on that information actually being on the blockchain. I love that side of things, but I know it's not quite as engaging or sexy maybe outside of the environmental and sustainable conversation. But I think it'll be interesting to see kind of how digital fashion can help push the sustainability conversation forward. That's one part that I'm really looking forward to. And also, of course, just increasing metaverse adoption. You know, I think that a lot of people who maybe weren't gamers like myself and weren't so, comfortable just walking around in these digital spaces need a reason to go in there, right? And I think that, digital fashion is definitely offering this new opportunity to go in and actually try things out in 3D form and kind of just see what kind of styles you like, and also to actually reward your community of people who like your brand, so you can jump into your specific corner of the metaverse and see maybe the next set of clothing lines that are coming out next quarter or next year or whatever. But being able to give little perks that actually drive people into the metaverse, I think is going to kind of play a role in the adoption of the metaverse and really just people being more comfortable, jumping into 3D immersive spaces to really engage with a brand and learn about what they're offering and maybe probably get some perks and special kind of rewards for getting in there, and that's where maybe the NFT conversation comes into it as well. Although I hear Astrid saying that they're not big fans of the word NFT over in the fashion space. So we're going to have a conversation about that as well, because I've been hearing it in the gaming space as well, where it's like, we have to just stop talking about NFTs and just, it's digital assets and maybe we just make it less intimidating, or, there's a lot of misinformation around the concept of NFTs. So all that to say, I think it's a very interesting space, a very interesting corner of the Web3 world, and it's actually leading the way when it comes to the metaverse in a lot of ways. So with all that, that's my kind of small diatribe on how I see digital fashion kind of evolving in the space and how Web3 is being impacted by it. But Astrid is definitely more of the expert on this topic than I am. So welcome back again, Astrid. I'm so glad you're able to join. Maybe tell us what you've been up to since the last time we connected and, what's new in digital fashion in your world.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, David, for having me. My name's Astrid Pilla, and I am founder of Meta Fashion House, which is a launch house, basically, creative agency, event production. A lot of different brands have come through Meta Fashion House, and I'm happy to help artists and brands connect through Meta Fashion House. So that's basically what I do with Meta Fashion House. And I'm also co-founder of 3D Meta Dress, which was born around a project of a 3D printed beautiful couture gown made by Sylvia Heisel. So Sylvia Heisel is my partner. She's an incredible designer. And this is actually a sustainable fashion project using tech, using, everything that we can in the new tech, world that we're in right now to create a sustainable fashion, really lifestyle brand. And everything that you just said, David, about, the sustainability piece, that we're going to be recording exactly what materials we're using, being accountable for, that sustainability piece, like zero waste. The materials are made of, I think it's the soles of sneakers. So it's like this, recycled material, and then you can also recycle it when you're finished with the gown. But it's also, the project was centered around this piece, which was honoring women in Web3 and in STEM. Huh. And a portion of, once we launch this dress, David, I hope that you'll be there to kind of witness, because I think during Art Basel this year, we'll have an auction that will kick off, and a portion of the proceeds will go to actually helping education for women in STEM or girls in STEM. And that will include, of course, Web3. So,
amazing.
All that to say is a lot of the sustainability is really important these days. And you're right. I mean, even in Digital Fashion Week, that was a huge conversation this year. We had a kind of a mix. We were, during New York Fashion Week, we kind of dovetailed into New York Fashion Week, but we started a little bit before. And, Claire Tattersall is the incredible, founder of Digital Fashion Week, which started in New York and now has expanded to London, Paris. I'm sure they'll be in Dubai next year. And watching this unfold, and all the artists that are benefiting from this beautiful showcase of both digital and physical pieces. That's really where I think the future is. The physical pieces combined with the digital, and like you said, creating extraordinary experiences for collectors, and like a loyalty kind of thing, or even just creating these metaverse experiences, like you said. So this year we had, it was Exclusable, who was the partner who made the metaverse portion, which is a beautiful space. It's made by polycount.io. They're an incredible studio. And that was where the digital piece went. And we had our, panel talks, and we were in the Electra Innovation Center physically in New York for the panel talks. And then we had the fashion show, which was in actually the fashion show was also at the Canvas 3.0, which was a beautiful space inside the, where the, oh my gosh, I'm going to blank on the name, but the former World Trade Center, of course.
Oh,
and,
wow.
It's a beautiful space. And that's where we had our physical fashion show, and then the digital piece as well. You could kind of dovetail and bring the physical, or digital pieces rather, onto the physical model. So it was really cool.
Wow, that's epic. And how is the connection between like the Digital Fashion Week and the New York Fashion Week? Because New York Fashion Week has been a pretty long-standing, institution, really, right, in New York and in the fashion industry, and like with it butting up against or with Digital Fashion Week strategically, likely, timing itself right, overlapping with New York Fashion Week, is there a kind of symbiosis? Is there kind of an interest from the traditional crowd in what the digital fashion crowd is doing? How did you see that kind of meshing? Was there a lot of overlap, or were they very much in like two very different worlds still?
So the Digital Fashion Week itself was, in 3 different locations across New York, and was very much, viewed by the traditional world. But also we had, during the traditional fashion week, brands like Tommy Hilfiger, and even, let's see, there was Puma. Different big brands brought in a touch of digital into their runway experience, or their, past NFT holders, let's say, could experience the show in different unique ways. So, or there were, gifts, things like that. So there were different aspects of, like, let's say Dolce & Gabbana would, have their, of course, IRL show, but then there was a piece in Decentraland that was during Metaverse Fashion Week. So you have brands, big brands during New York Fashion Week that are bringing in a piece of the digital into their show. So that did happen.
It's slowly creeping in there, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's slowly creeping in. And I think as the two, shows kind of happen simultaneously, at some point, like for example, this year in Paris, the show will be hosted by Monnier Paris, which is a huge brand in Paris, on the Place Vendôme. It's a beautiful location. I can't wait to see how that is going to all, what that's going to look like. I'm very excited for Claire because that's a huge partnership, and that'll
amazing.
take place on the 28th and 29th of this month.
So you got some big, traditional trad fashion, as you will, maybe call them, kind of slowly creeping into the Web3 space. I know I heard about Puma. I think I heard about that Dolce & Gabbana, wearable that they had. And so they actually were doing where they actually rewarded their holders, like those who showed up in person in New York got some kind of like VIP access or had certain perks or anything like that, or...
I'm reading an article because I was not there, but
no problem.
For example, it says here, Tommy Hilfiger partnered with Web3 Entertainment Launchpad Rove for an exclusive crypto experience at the label's official New York Fashion Week event. So that's pretty cool.
Okay, there you go. Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
And then it says here, and I'm reading an article written by or published by Redeye. .world. So this is, let's see, the Puma show during New York Fashion Week. It says the brand unveiled an immersive experience in the form of Black Station, named after Puma's home for its most innovative designs in fashion. And they actually had a metaverse experience specifically for NitroPass NFT holders. So
there you go. Yeah, that's amazing.
Kind of thanks
for that quick research. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool to hear. And I think, that's how it's going to happen. It's going to be a kind of slow, but people looking at it from the outside, especially if they really love the Puma brand, and now they're like, wait, so people who had that NFT are actually getting access to something I can't even go to, and now that builds a little bit of FOMO, right? The good kind of FOMO, though, the kind your brand wants, not necessarily, oh, you're going to get rich or you have to buy this to, for an investment, but more so, let's have an experience. Let's reward our collectors, our supporters, and I think that's a more healthy kind of FOMO where you're building kind of like a collective of rewarded supporters, and that's an interesting angle. So that's really cool.
Exactly. But I know, for example, I was just going to input, there are the big brands, but there's also, Claire is really focused on kind of the independent designers, which I love because, there's so many great designers out there, which we'll see two of today.
Nice.
And, they can shine in this environment. It's just incredible. And they can actually, this launches them into kind of the global platform, because now brands can come to them and say, hey, do you want to collaborate? Or, and someone like me can facilitate that. So it's really cool.
That's amazing. That was actually my next question, because it is cool to have the big brands coming in, but where's the community-based Web3 impact, and I think what you just said about the independent designers is really what it's all about. Yeah. So how are they kind of balancing that, right? Because at one hand, you need the sponsors, you need the funds, especially if you're making this a global, international digital fashion week kind of recurring brand, right? You're definitely going to need a little bit of that heavy hitter, influence and getting some of the sponsorship money, but also wanting to lift up the voices of the builders on the blockchain and the people really, living every day to day in this kind of digital metaverse fashion world, right? So how are they balancing that, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point to make, and that's why Digital Fashion Week really hones in on and focuses on those independent designers, and they can submit their work, and it's a curated kind of environment. I was actually part of it because as 3D Meta Dress, we're a kind of an independent brand as well. So we were working on all the different aspects of the digital side of things, such as, the snap filter, the actual OBJ files, the FBX files, all those different files that, because I like the tech side. Sylvia's really good at the tech side as well.
Nice.
And so, we were able to kind of get those files together, but some, designers need help. So we had a whole chat going of all the designers kind of helping each other out, like trying to get these files ready for the for the show. But yes, I mean, the independent designers are those that are even the community led brands, like I'm thinking of right now, Kiki, which is a new Web3 kind of community driven makeup brand. It's an incredible thing to witness because really they're creating the products through the community.
Wow.
So there's that as well.
So what does a Web3 driven makeup brand look like? Now I'm curious.
So basically, those within the Kiki community vote on, let's say, what kind of product's going to be put out, what coloring. If it's a nail polish, let's say, they'll vote on the color. They'll vote on. I think they've put out 2 products so far. I have one actually that I'm about to unbox. I'm kind of excited because I went to New York, their New York event with the Boys Club, which is actually a club for women. It's kind of a cheeky, tongue-in-cheek
Interesting.
name, but it's
All
really
right.
cool. And they partnered with Luxo, which is another blockchain digital fashion, which is the dematerialized. That's an incredible brand as well to look into. But they're creating literally their own blockchain.
Wow.
And so they partnered with the Boys Club and had an event where Kiki World was the brand, the makeup brand basically, or project was in-house, and they were doing makeovers and things like that. So that was like the IRL,
wow,
perk for being a Luxo holder and things like that. So
okay. And when you look at a team like that building a brand new blockchain, and this is specific for the fashion world, or is it like a supply chain solution? Anytime there's a new blockchain, I got to ask, like, what's the solution? Like, what's the real kind of thing they're solving for? Or is it kind of, because they're either solving a problem or they're making a bag, I feel like it's like one of those when there's a new blockchain,
Luxo is an incredible, I've known Marjorie for a long time, since 2021. We met like randomly in Miami.
Nice.
And the Luxo chain is really for luxury kind of brands. So we have Karl Lagerfeld. That's the one that comes to mind right now because that was the most recent project that I was watching. But the blockchain itself is sort of it's geared towards luxury brands, and that's there are, I know, a lot of more. There's a lot more detail on that blockchain that I am aware of. So I'm not totally
that's cool. I just was curious.
I think they're going to do rewards and things like that. You know what I mean? But I'm not completely versed in the whole,
that's cool.
Luxo.
No problem. I was just curious. Anytime hearing building new blockchains, but now that you mention it again, Luxo, I've heard of it in passing. I think here and there in some of the rooms.
The dematerialized is like the fashion house basically, and Luxo is the blockchain that they're on.
Nice. Very cool. Dematerialized. I'll have to look into that. So what would you say was kind of your favorite topic out of the Digital Fashion Week, all the conversations that you took part in?
Oh gosh, there were some great panels. We had conversations with Alice DeHunt, who is from SYKY, and that's a whole new, it's a community of supporting artists. So it's going to be Keystone holders will be in this ecosystem of creators, builders, artists. It's going to be a really interesting community to watch because they have a cohort of artists right now. I know one of them is Pet Liger. I've met the artist behind that, and they're an incredible digital design studio artist that makes beautiful footwear, but it's all digital. It's beautiful.
Nice.
They're actually the ones behind the Wilder World kicks. I don't know if you followed Wilder World.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one.
Their first project or NFT drop, I would say, or project drop was Kicks, and Pet Liger was the artist behind that as well. So they have 5 different artists that they're, I guess I would call it incubating. It's like an incubator program, and they're going to give all their resources towards helping these designers kind of, and keystone holders will have first access to those, whatever they create. So it's going to be really interesting to watch. I am a part of that project, but I have not, dove deep into the SYKY atmosphere or environment, or community, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very, very supportive. I've been in their Discord, and it's extremely supportive for people to kind of introduce themselves and like networking, things like that. So I really like it.
When you say like the biggest kind of use case for NFTs in the fashion space, and we'll talk about why they don't like talking about NFTs anymore, but like, would you say the biggest use case is kind of that community building and collaboration aspect of it? And then of course, being able to reward those that buy in early, which has always been kind of a key part of the dynamics in those collections. But is it the collaboration side? It sounds like it's a lot of like being able to connect with designers and obviously people who are just fashionistas and love their different clothing and knowing what's up and knowing what's trendy. Is that kind of the biggest focus you've seen from Web3 kind of projects in the fashion space?
I've seen there's a tendency towards incubating, independent designers. However, the reason why the word NFT is kind of, shied away from these days is because we're trying, basically the digital fashion world wants to onboard, the next billion users, let's say, and help the fashion world.
Don't we all?
Yeah, exactly. So the fashion world and let's say the beauty world and, the industries that are out there now are looking at the word NFT and saying to themselves, oh my gosh, like this is too risky, But if we don't talk about, even though they are considered NFTs, let's say, we don't need to say, oh, we're going to make you NFTs. We can say to them, we have a way in our new technology that we can actually record your supply chain, like you were saying. So we can have a record of every single piece on the supply chain that's provided. We know, like, let's say it's automotive. If the parts are made in a certain factory or how they're made or, where they come from, you don't have to look around for these parts anymore. You know exactly where it came from, exactly where to get the new part.
Yeah.
And, even for 3D printed pieces, if you need to 3D print a new piece, you can do that easily because the file's right there. The supply chain is recorded. There's a huge shift now in sustainability for company or fashion brands to be accountable for their, footprint, basically carbon footprint.
Exactly, yeah.
And so they can now have proof of what they're doing, and it really, front and center to say, here's what we're doing, and it's all recorded on the blockchain, and we can show you like how we're impacting, how our carbon footprint is being reduced, things like that.
Right. And even just ethical sourcing, right? As far as like slave labor and like proper sourcing. You can know exactly where it came from, who built it, all that can be recorded. I mean, assuming the person entering the initial data is doing it honestly, but that's always the important piece, it has to be integrity along the chain.
Yes, exactly. And though, even though that might be considered an NFT, right? We don't have to call it an NFT. We can just say, this is our new technology that we can help you record in perpetuity.
Yeah, I definitely
an ongoing kind of thing to record. Excuse me.
I definitely hear where you're coming from. And do you think that, because you mentioned 3D printed fashion, now, is that something that's been a relatively new kind of phenomenon, or was this something that kind of was already in the conversation even prior to kind of metaverse being a much more popular term and understanding? Is it something that kind of came with the the advent of kind of digital fashion, or is 3D printed like clothes, has that been a thing for a much longer time and I just wasn't aware?
So Sylvia Heisel, I'll give you the history of Sylvia Heisel. Her fashion brand was a traditional fashion brand. At first, it was luxury women's wear, but she started in Clo 3D when it first came out, and it was very clunky, not very, agile, let's say. So then recently, I would say 2000, let's say 18, 17, 18, Clo 3D came out again and was more agile. And then at that point, Sylvia started experimenting with 3D printed clothing and also tech fabrics, right? So the 3D printing, those pieces came out 2016, 15, and those were incredible pieces. And since then have kind of evolved, and the material is different. So right before the pandemic, Sylvia had a project called the Names Dress, and this was also to honor women in STEM, but it was like historical names, so like Amelia Earhart and women who did incredible things in the sciences and technology, of course, and contemporary women as well. And that dress was a 3D printed dress, but it was biodegradable. So if you can imagine, a dress kind of like decomposing and going back into the earth. So it was like really cool. It was actually
like over a long period of time, I assume. It's not like it's falling apart as you're wearing it.
No. And it was incredible. It was shown in the Ferragamo Museum in Italy. It was commissioned by the museum.
Amazing.
And when the museum shut down during the pandemic, I love this story. And the dress was, on display in the museum shut down. And then all of a sudden, Sylvia gets a call in New York City and says that they were panicking because the dress was decomposing.
Right.
And, that's what it was supposed to do. But it ended up that they shipped the dress back to New York City, and it was shown in the Canvas store in New York. And what they did was, I love how they displayed it. They put a little square piece of grass and the pole with the dress kind of above the grass, and the pieces would fall into the grass and they would water it, and it was just
wow.
It was really really cool.
I'm just kind of watching it. It was almost like an art piece slowly disintegrating, and
exactly.
like a living art piece.
Art installation. Exactly.
Yeah. Wow, that's
so
awesome.
That was the first iteration of the 3D printed gown. It was like a couture. It was a statement piece, right? So this second one that we've created, Sylvia did an amazing job. She hand drew each of the 300 names of the women that were honored on this dress. They were all nominated by us or other people. And these 300 names were hand drawn, 3D printed, and then everything was hand constructed into this incredible piece. And there are other artists out there that are 3D printing, like Danit Peleg. She's incredible. She did a project with the Nouns DAO.
No doubt.
So they funded her project. She has incredible pieces, and very cool in terms of, she'll have a booth up, and she has like animation, and the pieces are all different colors and really, really cool looking with the little Nouns figures.
Of course, you got to promote the Nouns if they're financing you. That's pretty cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then that's the thing, we're kind of bootstrapping along here, and looking for. We definitely are looking for investors, so that's going to be the next step.
No doubt.
For us. But and then there's other. I've met a woman in London, actually, Paraprint.io. She's incredible. She's created these 3D printed pieces, but in a different way of constructing the pieces together. She 3D prints the connecting pieces as well. So it's kind of like a different, we use heat. So Sylvia uses heat to kind of put the dress together, and she uses these 3D printed anchors, as she calls them. Her pieces are beautiful as well. They're all, so there's kind of a growing movement of people creating 3D printed clothing. The theory, let's say in a perfect world, you have zero waste. Your carbon footprint is almost zero because, theoretically you could send the file of this garment to someone in Spain, let's say, and you could 3D print the garment in Spain, and there's no shipping costs,
Yeah, there you go.
So that's, the idea behind it.
No
But
shipping, no gas used to make the shipment, and all that environmentally impacting, transportation, supply line. That's the future,
Exactly.
hopefully. I mean, I think that 3D printing is going to have to continue to evolve and get even more, accessible and impressive for it to really be making that like societal impact. But it's how it starts with this kind of incremental progression and evolution. Is very, very interesting. So I'm walking around your meta fashion house corner of the metaverse here, and this one room has all these really interesting dresses. One of them is shimmering and sparkling, and I'm just like, it kind of shows how digital fashion really kind of pushes the limits of what fashion is, if you will. So how do you see the kind of like digital assets and the digital fashion conversation actually impacting and kind of pushing the envelope in the traditional fashion world? Like, for example, like a dress like this that's like lighting up like this is probably not going to be as easy to make happen in real world, but maybe people will try because they've seen it here, so it's just wondering, like, do you see a lot of the digital world kind of bleeding into traditional fashion, even when it comes to like trends and kind of what you've seen in the space? Or do you think that we haven't quite reached that place where digital fashion is impacting kind of the more institutional fashion entities?
I mean, I definitely see, for example, Julia Blanc. She's the big. If you saw the blue dress right in the entrance, the big blue dress, Julia Blanc, and all these designers, by the way, Edward Nielsen, Ilana Song, all these designers were in Digital Fashion Week this year as well.
Awesome.
But the designer Julia Blanc, she had made physical pieces from her digital pieces. So she did the digital collection first, and then created the physical pieces and had the fashion show in London. So, and I'm sure she'll have it in Paris as well. But this piece was, she's an artist from the Ukraine. She's incredible. This piece was so popular during Digital Fashion Week. It sold so many pieces on Decentraland. Nice. It was really, really popular.
Did they have a limited amount, or was it just there was just unlimited amount of dresses available?
No, it was limited to, I believe we did 1,000 pieces. I have to look back.
Nice.
I believe it was an epic
awesome.
rarity, I think.
I can see any really fancy event in the metaverse, ladies would be looking nice in that big blue dress for sure.
It's gorgeous. It really is. This one, and then the phygitial dress that they had during Digital Fashion Week was super popular. It's gorgeous. And the Ouroboros had a piece that was probably the most, let's say, interesting piece, because it was like a skin, and you were you were lit up, and you looked like kind of like a creature, right? It wasn't, you were kind of wearing the whole entire skin, you transformed.
It's a full avatar, more than just the fashion piece, right?
A whole different creature. So it was really cool. But if you look in the, so that's Digital Fashion Week, and you've got all the filter. This year, Spin Lab did all the augmented reality pieces. They helped publish all the pieces. And that is, I believe, I can put the link in the chat.
Sure, we can take a look at that. It was a really awesome conversation about digital fashion, and I definitely want to hear about AR and this whole concept of kind of digitally trying things on through AR is really cool too. But I just love the kind of mashup of fashion art and actual 3D wearable pieces that you have in your metaverse space here. It's just really, really cool. It kind of makes the fashion look very artistic. I like the angle that you're going with, the way you kind of curated this space.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I was looking at these Ready Player Me avatars, right? And you were mentioning, I think, Alona Song, and so there's here Lorena Bello. So you got all these are all designer names, right? And I assume the people who created the dress that's being shown here, right? And how has Ready Player Me kind of embraced this new world of digital designers? Are they really leaning heavily into this? I know there's others like Dress X, you know, and a few others that are really trying to like own the wearable space in like a real way, and this whole digital twinning conversation, which is really fascinating as well. But I think some, like these ones I'm seeing here, are not trying to go for a digital twin. They're really, you know, outside of the box, right? So yeah, a lot of questions there. Ready Player Me, how are they embracing this kind of digital designer space?
Yeah, there is a great, that is a great question, because we actually had Ready Player Me come on for an interview with Claire during Digital Fashion Week last year. And they are all about right now starting to help independent designers. At first it was, budget. They needed to partner with big brands, but now they want to help independent designers, and they've put out a slew of tools to help creators.
Nice.
I keep seeing updates in my email box, we've published this, we've done this, and creators are getting excited because they can really the latest is a collaboration between you can make oh gosh, I have to remember the name of it, but you can create emotes and bring them into Ready Player Me, all by just videoing yourself.
What?
And then bringing that emote into the metaverse. So I think that to me blew me away. When I saw that, I was like, oh, this is
currently
really
you have to do the whole Blender or Unity thing, right, to make an emote like in Decentraland. Isn't that?
You don't have to do that anymore. It's all automated. I mean, it is pretty cool. I don't know if you can bring it into Decentraland, but I know you can bring it into Ready Player Me.
Right. Yeah.
So that was one thing. So they're really partnering with all kinds of different, creative companies that are going to be able to give, in turn, those creative artists new tools to like create all kinds of different things.
That's amazing.
I think the Sandbox is doing the same, but of course that's a totally different look.
Yeah, I mean, Sandbox, I just want them to open up for business already. It's like they keep doing these little like, oh, we have an open thing, and if you own a plot, then you can go and kind of build some stuff. But they're not just like wide open and everybody can go experience it. And I don't understand why, but maybe they're just like worried that it's just going to flop. And so they're just like taking their time to go like full release. But anyway, yeah, Sandbox does have some interesting stuff for sure. And I like the vibe of it. Like it's kind of a Minecraft, almost like voxels, but a little bit higher quality. But on the digital twin conversation, so you were mentioning that other designer with that beautiful blue dress actually creates the digital version first and then tries to makes the physical that twins it, right? But I think what we've seen more commonly right now is the opposite, right? With like brands bringing their kind of famous, fashion items into the metaverse, and so that people can wear them in there and they're kind of the same. How are you seeing the kind of digital twin conversation evolving? Because I've heard people in digital fashion that don't like the concept because they think digital fashion should be way outside of the box and not try to copy what's in the mainstream. And then of course we see brands, some more successfully than others, really kind of adopting the idea of a digital twin. So how do you see it evolving?
So I've always come to the conclusion that the brands that kind of started out and said, oh yes, we can recreate what I already have in the metaverse. Well, those brands didn't do very well because people that are in the metaverse looking for these clothings are looking for something, with an extra, maybe it's got wings or it's got flames coming out or something interesting, think outside the box of not just recreating what you already have, but being really creative with how you can make that an incredible piece. Because the physics we're no longer constrained by the physics of fabric and things like that. We can be really super creative, and that's a hard thing sometimes for brands to embrace. But now they really are, and they're also listening more, kind of not listening, but kind of being guided more by the designers and saying, hey, you don't have to just stick with this. You can actually think about doing something, a piece that's going to really get people excited and with all kinds of different things. I know the Adidas piece, actually covered your whole head in Decentraland, which, these are decisions that the designer and the brand makes. You can either layer the piece or not, kind of thing. So sometimes you can wear it with. So these are the little decisions that when you work with a designer that knows, okay, most people want to layer pieces and don't want it to replace everything. You know what I mean?
Right. Give people options and, not try to just be the whole avatar at one time. And people like to customize it, especially those, again, who are really living in the metaverse. Maybe not living, but spending actual time daily in the metaverse and having fun in the metaverse. They like to get creative with their outfits, for sure, as I've seen. It's pretty interesting. So I'm wondering, going back to your point about the NFT conversation, do you think that the immutability of the tokens is playing a big role in it? And the reason I ask this as well is because there are, different blockchains kind of taking different angles on it. And I think looking at the immutability of the token, the blockchain that kind of it's minted on, right, has a lot to do with, how realistically, decentralized and immutable this asset is going to be into the future, right? Do you think that conversation is at all kind of important in the fashion space as much? Definitely on the supply line piece, I could see that would definitely be an important piece. But do you think like the immutability of my digital dress is something that's kind of talked about or highlighted a lot?
Yeah, I mean, definitely when we talk about, which blockchain, for example, there's a blockchain called the Aura blockchain. It's the Aura consortium, actually. It's a consortium of luxury brands that are now basically using this specific blockchain for authenticity. This is an actual Gucci or Louis Vuitton bag, and it's immutable. You can't, it's recorded for everyone to see on this blockchain. And the fact that they're using a specific, blockchain that they can kind of have luxury brands join. So, you will have the Aura blockchain, you will have the Luxo, which is also a luxury, blockchain that acts a little differently. Maybe I think the Luxo is going to have, rewards. I don't think that the Aura blockchain will do that. It will just be more of a
certificate of authenticity
pieces,
kind of thing.
Yeah, the technical pieces are more important on that chain, and because there's regulation, there's and it's more of a kind of most of those brands are like European luxury brands that are joining.
Interesting.
So there's definitely the luxury and also the regulation that the new in England they have I forget what it's called, GDPR. I forget exactly, but there's a whole new regulations that have come out to, protect the consumer and things like that. And,
right. Consumer data and things like that as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. So you think when these entities, whoever they are, kind of coming together and creating these new blockchains, when they do this, they're doing it with seems the right intentions and the right kind of people behind them, and you're not really concerned about maybe they do something like an Aura consortium, have all these brands, and then something just doesn't work for them, and they basically throw the project out, right? And then those assets they'll still be there for recording, but it's like, if there's not a growing kind of network around it, are people going to go back and actually look at the assets? So we're at this interesting place where you kind of have to build it first and hope that it works, right? And so like I look at Ethereum and even maybe Solana, Tezos, and they seem to have quite a good decentralized network, global base, so then the layer twos on Ethereum can have that kind of longevity into the future, right? So I guess when I look at Luxo, I look at the Aura consortium, I think the vision sounds awesome, but can it last 10, 20, 50 years into the future is gonna be an interesting question to watch. But it sounds like you seem pretty convinced that they've got good direction, and they're definitely building out for the right reasons, eh?
Yeah, I mean they're it's a consortium, which is a nonprofit, so
right.
they encourage these brands to join the nonprofit, and then, they're investing in the technologies. And as I look at their website, they basically, their mission is to, invest in technologies to enhance the customer experience, which is a good thing, and then build the future for luxury brands. So, they want to create transparency, trust. They want to improve the buying, the owning, the selling, the reselling, and even recycling of luxury goods.
No doubt.
So the founding groups here, as I'm reading, is Louis Vuitton, Mercedes-Benz, Prada, Richemont, OTB. I mean, you can see all the members here. You've got Maison Margiela, you've got Givenchy, you've got, Miu Miu, Bulgari, Hublot. You've got a lot of big
luxury brands getting together to build their own blockchain to ensure, certificates of authenticity, and basically, a whole kind of tier of luxury Web3, basically, it sounds like, because that blends over a few different brands, right?
They have, technical partners, they have, trusted suppliers kind of thing. So they're like a nonprofit that's bringing, all these tech partners in to, create these solutions. And so that's basically, the architecture and things like that is, it says here, the platform uses Krome permissioned blockchain technology. So Krome maintains a common ledger that can only be updated block by block, block after block, by the network consensus that members provide. So, that's the technical, if you want to dive into the architecture and things like that.
Definitely. So, I'm kind of pretty interested. I'm gonna have to take a look at that for sure. It sounds really interesting.
I'm gonna pop this in our chat.
Yeah, so sure. Yeah, drop it in the chat for sure. I'll take a look at it. I'm wondering, you mentioned kind of the token gating that you heard about with Puma. That sounds really cool. So are you seeing a lot of this kind of token gated community building in the metaverse, in the fashion space? And how have you had any experiences with it yourself, as far as, being a holder and being able to take part in some specific fashion project because you're a holder?
So I am a part of the Restless project, which is Charlie Cohen. And Charlie Cohen became a designer at the age of 15. She's incredible. I've met her. She's an incredible human. I love her team. I love the project. This project was born, the Restless project is a digital kind of native project, but she is a traditional fashion, designer for like streetwear and really cool fashion. But this particular project was digital native first, and they're making the physical pieces. So like, for example, I got a t-shirt, the Master T, with the NFC chip, embedded. And this will give me access to, let's say, experiences and IRL experiences. So in London last year, we were invited to it was a networking event, really, kind of a celebration of the project networking event. And it was absolutely worthwhile. So that was a perk of being in the project. So yeah, there's definitely, it's very, very, very cool. And Charlie Cohen has done, partnerships with Diablo, Pokemon, and Selfridges in London, so the actual department store. So, these are all kind of real activations that are, get people like me excited anyway.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. And so you were saying that you have a shirt with the NFC. Is that non-fungible clothing, or is that what
No, it's a near field chip, basically near field technology. So it's been around for a long time, actually. It's for example, when you go to use Apple Pay and pay at a kiosk, there's 3 lines that are there to kind of tell you where to hit your phone or tap your phone. It's the same technology. So basically some of the chips are programmable, some are not. So we have programmable chips, for example, in all our 3D printed, for example, our gown has a chip inside it provided by Solaire, Vivian Zhang is one of the founders of Solaire, and she provides not only the chips, but a whole slew of technology for physical products. I'm going to see her in New York next week for her jewelry event. She partners with jewelry companies to put NFC chips in, let's say, rings or, jewelry. At some point, our brand will have jewelry as well with the name. So you'll be able to print your name in, a necklace, or have your earrings as like, just the letters, the alphabet letters that have been created by Sylvia.
Wow.
And you'll own those files as well. So the 3D print files, once you collect the piece, you'll own the 3D printed file, and you'll be able to print, as many as you want, basically.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I know I had heard about the chips that they can put in clothing to allow, scanning and getting that data, but I was not familiar with the exact name. NFC, near field. Sorry, I forgot already.
Near field. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I'm going to look it up here.
I'm just, we like to get into the tech here. So learning new things, chip and clothes. I did bring up the website for these Aura luxury blockchain. Very, very interesting. Certain centralized aspects and then decentralized nodes. Permission blockchain run by Krome. Oh, it's even using a little bit of Ethereum, I guess. Krome is Ethereum Geth plus.
Yeah. So near field communication. Sorry, I was blanking on the C part of that.
Okay, near field communications.
Cool. Yeah, and basically it's just when you have you can have RFID also chips. So that's
right. I'm more familiar with those ones. That's the ones they put on the cows.
Exactly. So those, you can use that as well. That technology has been around for a long time.
Right.
It's just now we're all of a sudden embedding it in, let's say, physical products. It could be a t-shirt like I have, or the dress that we have. We kind of incorporated it into the 3D printed. We have a little 3D printed casing that we put on the dress.
Awesome.
With the chip inside it, and it right now, and we can program it. So like, let's say we were doing an IRL event. We want everybody to come to the event. They can just scan their, if they wear their piece, they can just scan their chip and come on in.
Right.
I know that, we've got some projects like 9DCC. So, he was having people wear their, let's say, t-shirt or hat, and they could exchange like POAPs together. So they partnered with POAP Studio, and it was like a contest who could scan the most, who could meet the most people, basically, during the thing. So G Money did that. So that was pretty cool. I thought it was a fun use of, the technology.
That's amazing. I'm glad I asked about token gating, because that's next level. That's a real phygital token gating opportunity for sure. And that's amazing. That's what we like to see. And near field communication, Grayson came through in the chat with that as well for us. I'm sure he's more familiar with that tech. Appreciate you, Grayson.
On what the C stood for.
It's all good. Yeah, no, it's awesome. Really, really fascinating. It sounds like you're really on the bleeding edge. And I mean, I think fashion is really, pushing the conversation around the metaverse and around NFTs, frankly, or digital assets, or however they prefer to be framed in this lens, but definitely pushing things forward in a big way. I think we lost Siddharth, so I don't know if he's able to rejoin, but we can maybe turn to the designer, the independent designer videos that you wanted to highlight. So maybe should we start with Siddharth, or do you want to try to get him back on the call?
Let's start with Melis and show her film. So these are two artists that I met during Digital Fashion Week, New York. They are from Turkey originally, just moved to LA. The sweetest, nicest couple. Melis Kaner, and forgive me, Melis, if I'm pronouncing this wrong. Melis Kaner is the artist behind the digital fashion. And Onur Erdurak is, so on Instagram, it's Melniverse, MELNIVERSE. I will put it in the chat. And Onur, it goes by Blender Dreams, BLENDREAMS on Instagram. Both of them created this fashion film. So he's the animator, and she's the, the fashion artist. So both of them together created this film, and it was an animation to be shown during Digital Fashion Week when we were at Enter in gosh, that was a beautiful space. And even during all the other events that were happening. So we had the animations at the Canvas store as well. So
wow, awesome. Well, I'm excited to see it now, and it's really cool that they're from Turkey. Are they in Turkey, or were they they're just from Turkey, but they're in America now?
They're from originally, and they just moved out to LA.
Oh, awesome.
So I told them I would, try to find some artists out there to introduce them to, because they're new to LA and they're very nice people. So yeah, so
very
I was
cool.
gonna.
Well, I know Turkey's a little bit of a difficult area these days, so that's awesome to hear, creators being able to just live their dreams and be able to, show their creativity and their artwork and make a way for themselves from wherever they are in the world. That's a big part of Web3, right? Creating opportunities for people in any corner of the world. So with that, we're going to turn it over to this animation film by Melise Kaner and owner Erderok, and I'm dropping their Instagrams in the chat right now. If you'd like to follow them on Instagram, there they are. So let's take a look at this. We'll take our cameras off here for a minute, and maybe we'll get Siddharth back with us for the next one. But, we always like showcasing art and creativity here on this show. So let's take a look at this one. Thank you for that, Astrid, and for the creators giving us the opportunity to share it. Let's see. All right. Wow, that was amazing. Very cool. That was awesome. It's like a delight for the eyes. The play on the ice, and then the amazing fashion that the ladies in the video are wearing is definitely next level. And now I'm seeing it's done in Blender. Not surprising. Very interesting. Yeah. Wow.
Exactly.
Amazing.
One
well
of my
done.
Definitely one of my favorite. And I love what she did with the eyes. Just the
eyelashes were just amazing. Like the details in the eyelashes was just insane. Yeah, really. Yes. How do they even get that? Like, this is like snowflakes on there and frozen eyelashes. Wow. Next level. Very, very impressive. All right, let's jump over to Siddharth. And I know he was mentioning that Dark Matter is the brand of that they're working on. It's kind of a digital fashion brand they're working on at the Matic studio. He was trying to join via audio, but I know he was kind of multitasking, so he might have had to drop off. But very cool of him to share his art. And here's a video from Siddharth. Did you want to give a bit more of a breakdown there on his video?
So, yeah, I mean, I would say that, Siddharth was not at New York Digital Fashion Week, but I did, happen to get some of his, some of his film on on my phone. So I sent it to him, and then I saw what he was doing in automotive. And I don't know if you know this, David, but I won't get into this right now, but I'm a high performance driving instructor, and I love all things cars.
Amazing.
And so I saw that, and I reached out to him, and I said, oh my gosh, we have to do something. We have to collab together or something. And so that led to this. So yeah.
That's really amazing. And I do remember you being a car aficionado, but I did not know you're actually an instructor. So like you teach people how to do like high speed racing. Is that what you're saying right now, Astrid?
Yeah, basically a high speed driving instructor. So I can teach people how to most efficiently and fast get up around the racetrack. Yes.
Hardcore. That's next level. Yeah, I haven't seen a real NASCAR or one of those epic races. I have to get out to Montreal. We got the F1 out there. That's what I got to do. Check that out. But very cool. All right. We'll take a look at the Dark Matter film here, and we'll keep the conversation going for a little bit more. Appreciate all y'all in the chat. Thank you again. If you have any questions or any feedback on what you're seeing, please don't hesitate to share that with us. Let's take a look at the Dark Matter video here.
Boundless humanistic realms, a symphony of individuality. Venturing into the uncharted and unearthing the exceptional. Dark matter.
Very cool. Those guys look like some Tesla bots with some really awesome fashion.
He's got a completely different look and feel, as you can see. But I love both angles and both kind of styles. They're really cool, and on the big screen, like everything just looked so
amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, really, thank you for sharing that. I always love it. That's why we have a visual component to our show. It's not just strictly audio. We like to explore the metaverse and take a look at art and creativity as much as possible. And those were two amazing independent designers. Is Siddharth, was he joining from India? I didn't even ask him before he dropped off. But
I am not sure where he is located in the world.
Wherever he was, it was very busy. But again, another example, I'm quite sure, of the global world coming together in Web3 and in the metaverse, right? So very fascinating. I'm curious, again, I kind of touched on this a little bit, but looking at like the future of fashion, which one use case do you think is really kind of leading the pack and is going to kind of help with the case to be made for why digital assets should just be mandatory? Basically, is like that's the future we're getting to, where these NFC chips and some type of track record on the blockchain is like basically demanded by basically, I think, the economy and those who want to see sustainability take a front seat, right? How do you see it going, and what do you think is like the main driver of this digital asset adoption?
I think the practical person in me is going to say that it's going to be the sustainability piece that's going to be driving, the authenticity and sustainability and the regulations that are already taking place, and how this technology is going to help brands to embrace and to really, I would say, fast track almost their compliance in this new regulatory kind of world, and also it's social responsibility. and it's going to be bringing new consumers to their brand as well, because they'll like to see that piece of, sustainability and things like that. But then there's like the creative brain in me that also hopes that people one day, have a lot of fun with the augmented reality pieces. I mean, the shows that I've seen, like with even like Snapchat or Instagram, when you can play around with filters and just create a new look for yourself, or even on a building, and watch an experience unfold on the London Bridge, or in New York City somewhere, and see like a giant lipstick like roll down the the street,
Right.
and I just think those kind of experiences are really cool.
And that's like brand immersion to the next level, right? Like that's where it's like you're seeing secret things that only those in the brand know can actually look and know to look for it, right? I think the AR XR conversation is really fascinating. And it's not necessarily reliant on maybe the blockchain as much, right? Like you can do most of that kind of AR XR stuff with kind of digital assets that are, like you say, on Snapchat, and just filters that can be found. How do you feel about the Apple glasses, and that kind of future of a little bit more like low scale, like easy to use glasses that are more commonplace, and then maybe AR becomes even more functional because people are walking around with these things? Do you think that's a future we're going to see, or?
I think so. I mean, I can't wait to be able to wear something like that looks sleek and it's not too heavy, on your face. Because I wear glasses every day.
Right.
Like these are my, I'm a glasses wearer. So if they're comfortable and I'm going to be able to wear them, then, if I can walk through the street and see your, like augmented reality that you created for yourself, and that's how you want to walk and be, viewed as like wearing a suit of armor or whatever it is that you want to be wearing, whatever your Web3 warrior inner creativity produces, then I want to see it, and I think it's going to be a whole new world for, let's say, even, schools, and to get their kids involved in learning this tech, because I think it's a fun tech, and that's how kids learn, with something fun too. So the education piece is going to be, because kids are going to have to learn. They already know Snapchat, they already know, TikTok and Instagram and all that. So it's going to be really easy for them to start adopting this new technology. But is it fun for them? Do they think it's interesting? You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
And what's the value that they can get out of it, right? It's like in a real way, not just a monetary way, but even intrinsically, make it fun, make it educational as well, but also fun for sure. And mentioning augmented reality, I did notice on your Twitter, or X as some are calling it now, you've been promoting a little bit of the OD Labs, our friends over in Toronto. It's actually funny now. I think this is the third episode in a row where one of my guests has something on their Twitter about OD Labs. So I got to ask, because I've been finding it really interesting. I think they're doing kind of like an interesting digital guerrilla marketing thing with their AR campaign. And what are your thoughts on it? Because you seem to be a big supporter, and I think you changed your header banner there. Any thoughts on OD Labs? And yes, this is spatial.
Yeah.
Jagar just asked if this was spatial, so I'll drop the link in the chat for you. But yes, what are your thoughts on OD Labs?
Thank you for mentioning them. No, I actually wanted to talk about them as well, because, and I'm like heavily in the project. I love it so much.
Awesome.
I think what they're doing right now is really a creative use case of augmented reality, because although I have to say, myself being older, and like I'm trying to get these puzzles, and man, they are a little complex for my brain. I'm telling you, I'm trying to keep up, but it makes me feel old, but whatever. But I still have fun with it, and like these puzzles. So basically, first of all, the concept of OD Labs is incredible. I love the fact that they're creating the augmented reality with physical, artwork, physical. I know they're going to do merch. They're originally like an incredible like storefront in Toronto, right?
Right.
Have you been to their
I haven't been to the
place?
store, but I'm familiar with friends, and it's like designer shoes, like really high-end shoe
Yeah,
collectors. And
really.
yeah, apparently they were doing all right just on that stuff before they really dove into XR and Web3.
So yeah, I love this project. You know, the fact that I've seen a couple of really cool. You know, when I see this really creative use of the AR, and I was in my living room yesterday trying to hack, get through level 2, which is, so they have 7 levels, and they are actually going to give away a Bitcoin to whoever solves
Yeah, I saw that.
the 7th
Yeah,
level
I was thinking
first.
about it. I was like,
guess.
man, there's no way I'm going to win this thing. I don't have enough
I am
time to
definitely
be
going to
trying to
lose
crack all
this
this.
challenge, but that's okay. But it was really funny. I was in my living room yesterday trying to figure out okay, I have to open the 2 levers on the sides, and then I have to turn the cube around, and it's like a cube with a really cool eyeball on the front. And
Yeah,
back.
it's really cool. I didn't get one. I don't know. I can't remember how it worked. You had to be on a certain list, right? What was the list limited to? It was like 100 people or something?
I am not sure. I know that they open the Discord, every once in a while, and then you can.
Yeah, I did
come
get
on
into
in
the
and-
Discord. I did get in there, yeah. That's as far as I've gotten so far. And I invited a few
Yeah.
friends too that I know are big in the XR and AR space. So that's as far as I've gotten in the community. Added a few names.
Yeah, and I took one of the. So Lulu is the, on the banner on my Twitter banner, Lulu. So I created a really quick film on TikTok with one of the cars that it used to be my father's car, actually. So the picture of the car with Lulu on it, and then we did a whole AI kind of version of it was kind of panning out. And
I have it on the screen now. It's very cool.
oh yeah, you have it. Okay, cool. Yeah, that was fun. So if I can create with and help kind of put eyes on a project like this, I think it's fun. And they're working with Tribe, which is a project that, let's say you recreate something like this, a film, you can input the link to the Twitter post, and then they give you points and things like that. So
Cool,
then
that's
you can
how it's working, eh?
earn your founder's pass, things like that.
Yeah,
So
no, I dig it. I dig it.
create.
Like real genuine community building, and not over promising, over hyping, really just being intentional with it. And yeah, I mean, the art is dope. That Lulu art is something. it's quite the creation of them. But yeah, very interesting. Really interested with what they're doing. And the XR conversation is, like you say, still just getting started. I am looking forward to those Apple goggles. I'm not gonna lie. I'm hoping I can get a decent deal on them because the price point was a little crazy. But personally, I'm more I take the side of Apple versus Meta if I have to choose between those 2 companies and the use of my biometric data. I'm gonna stick with Apple, but that's the reason I've been kind of holding off the VR headset myself. I was looking at it, but I either had to go with the really high-end one, which I know is just going to be replaced as the high-end one 6 months from now, or I had to go with the Oculus, which I just didn't want to give Meta my eyeballs, but that's a whole other conversation. But it's a very cool space.
I think they stopped requiring, you don't have to hook your Meta account to it anymore.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's good to know, for sure.
But I agree. I mean, I want to not have to rebuy a whole new technology if it's just coming out, and
Yeah.
but I'm excited for it. Very excited.
The future is bright, I think. So as we wind down here, I don't know if we have any more questions from the chat. Yeah, very cool. What is new? What's next for Astrid? What's around the corner? What's new for you in digital fashion? Is there a big project you're kind of really working on right now, or anything you're just really looking forward to you want to share with us?
Yeah, so right now I'm working on actually social posts about the 300 women of our project, which is the 3D meta dress. So I've gotten some incredible feedback. I wanted to get quotes to inspire our next generation of girls coming into STEM and Web3, learning about technology and sciences. And so I'm getting those posts together, and I'm hoping that during Art Basel, we can kind of launch into this auction that is going to, support girls coming in, girls' education in Web3 and STEM. So that's my hope. We were talking with Girls Who Code. We were talking with, there's an NYU actually consortium, but they actually have a fund for underprivileged girls in STEM. So, trying to figure out exactly where that money is going to go. And we want to, of course, support as much as possible the education in Web3 and STEM. So I'm a big tech person, and I love, when I find a fellow woman in tech, I kind of gravitate to those people. I'm taking an AI class right now, or it's a course actually for business leaders. Not really a class, it's a course for business leaders put on by Ali Miller. It's incredible. And I'm meeting a lot of fellow female, either enthusiasts or builders, creators, and wanting to build upon this new AI technology. So it's really
amazing. And I see you've got some really cool fashion related art that I believe is incorporating AI in your space here. How do you feel about kind of where that's going as far as incorporating AI in fashion on an ongoing basis? Like, do you think it's just pushing the limits of what's possible? Is it mostly good? Is there a concern, obviously, for the designers out there? And I see Jagar running around your spatial space here, joined us over here. But yeah, what are your thoughts on AI and fashion, basically?
So you are in the show studio wing, and this was a really cool project. This was made with a muse who was our avatar, Giselle. And so Nick Knight was the creator of this project, and he's an incredible OG, like fashion photographer, incredible person. And all of the traits that you see in those photos or artworks are made by different designers, makeup artists. So each one created a trait, and it kind of created all the myriad of possibilities on these art pieces. And then we just were airdropped an avatar. So we got the full figure avatar. But back to your question on, AI and creating fashion and things like that. I have on my Threads account, I've been kind of posting a little bit of that. I feel like if you can create AI fashion and be inspired by what you're creating, and then maybe create a piece that's a physical piece of what you're seeing, then I don't see the wrong in it. I really love the creativity and what you can do, how the use cases are coming out. There's Midjourney, there's DALL-E 3. DALL-E 3 just came out for, I believe it's for enterprise, but I don't think everybody can use it yet. I can't wait to try it. Apparently it's incredible. I love using these tools because you feel like you can create what's in your mind, you know what I mean? And then what comes out sometimes obviously is crazy. So
no doubt. But hey, it gets that, sparks that inspiration, right? And I'm looking at these pieces, I'm being reminded of Ope. Shout out to Ope, the designer. She's amazing, in the fashion space. I'm sure you've crossed paths, right?
Yes, she was actually in the show studio Discord with me for a while, and then she was also in the show studio. I still am sort of a Discord mod in there, but I haven't been in a while. But if I can help in any way, show studio, I do. I show up for them. So
very cool. Yeah, well, I'm just thinking because I know she was recently, and I don't remember the exact contest that she was in, but she got selected, and her AI-based fashion art is being turned into real physical fashion. And I have no idea how they're going to do it because it was quite the beautiful ensemble of really big kind of pillowy clothes. So it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe it's done already. I'd have to follow up with her, but how that looks in actual physical form. But yeah, just the idea of like something that started, like you just said, as some thought in your brain, and then you plug it into a prompt, then you get this visual back, and then you're like, it's not quite what I was going for, and you're tinkering with it, and you're doing all this stuff. Like, it seems too easy, but at the same time, it is kind of its own skill set, right? And I get those who don't want to like go down that path and really just like put it on par with artists or designers, but ultimately you kind of have to still have the design eye or the artist eye to really make it something cool, right?
Yeah, you do. And you also have to kind of be a prompt engineer, to be honest, because I'm becoming, more familiar with the prompts of, how to tell Midjourney not to give me like gross anatomy or something like that's, the eyes are too far apart or whatever. Things like that. You can kind of prompt engineer that, and prompt engineers are becoming a huge, that's becoming a huge job.
Yeah, I keep hearing people taking issue with the engineer term with that, but that's for another conversation.
Yes,
but it is definitely an interesting growing space for sure.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention, so Phygital Twin is a company that helped, let's say, for example, Julia Blanc. Phygital Twin is the one who created the link between the physical and the digital. So they create the twin, basically the phygital or digital twin of the pieces. So was helping on that project a lot. And then you had, let's see, I'm trying to see in our space. Yeah, some of the projects in here are like, for example, IRL artists. So I have someone who I actually went to high school with. His name is Robert Sinclair. Some of the pieces up there, I actually digitized for him and put them up because he's a real, IRL artist who makes incredible pieces.
Nice.
And the coloring of all the art that he put out it just looked incredible in the space. So I thought, okay, let's do that. So the next step for him, for example, is going to be creating or understanding the NFT space and things like that. So
no doubt. So this is an example of you doing some onboarding, doing the good work of bringing those creators onto the blockchain.
Yeah, I mean, I love to do it. When I have a moment to do it, if I can, I will bring, people together, or I'll bring artists in. For example, Hans Uder, you can see the big animation that has the animated avatar. That's Hans Uder, who I've also been quasi managing, I guess. He's an artist based in LA and New York, and he's out in if you go back to like the middle section, that's his piece. That was it. It was accepted into NFT NYC last year or this year, I guess.
Oh yeah, the one with the pink gateways.
Yes.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And Carmilla Simantri was the artist who actually animated the avatar for us and created that artwork. So she was the collaborating artist. She was also at NFT NYC, so it was pretty cool. And we have the actual mannequin in a studio in New York. So with that project,
same art, it has all that exact art on it.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Yeah, you're taking Phygital to that next level, Astrid. For real.
Exactly. Yeah, she's also got an NFC chip in her hand and everything.
Of course, got to have the NFC chip too, right? Amazing.
Of course.
I hope, are you planning to get to NFT.NYC, the next one, April?
Yes.
Okay.
I will
so hopefully we can connect there.
I
don't think we connected IRL yet, and maybe you can show me some of the fashionista areas of New York. And I know I got to connect with Ope out there as well. I have another question. Is this dog your dog, or just a random dog? You have one?
No. Okay, that is not a random dog. Actually, also this is Hugo.
Okay.
And okay, I'll tell you the story of Hugo. Hugo is a friend of mine's dog who created Meta Fashion House inside Decentraland. So he was the incredible builder, and I said I would I had a picture of him, and I thought, okay, I was gonna make a game out of it and hide him, and
Nah, he looks like he's enjoying the view up there, just hanging out.
yeah. So he's not really. It was all kind of an homage to him, also because I miss seeing him in the space. He kind of is not really in the Web3 space anymore. So, and he was such an incredible designer. So,
Yeah, one of those who maybe fell out of love for the time being with Web3. Maybe they'll be back around. I know there's a lot of those who are not really feeling it as much, but
it's hard, when you need to. I mean, I'm kind of in the same position. You create all these projects, but you need income. So
I feel you. It's a struggle, a labor of love sometimes out here. It's difficult.
Yep.
That's sweat equity. We need that real equity too.
Exactly.
For sure. Well, thank you so much, Astrid. It's been really, really amazing conversation. Anything else you want to share before we wind down here? And thank you to everyone hanging out with us in the chat. Appreciate you. And Jagar jumping into the metaverse with us here.
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, I didn't even name him. It's Arn Joe is my friend whose dog that is. So,
okay, cool.
If anyone knows where Arn Joe is, let me know.
Astrid misses him.
But otherwise, I will be in New York next week.
Wow, back to New York already?
Yeah, back to New York. I am actually alpha beta testing something for World of Women. I'm very excited about it. I can't say what it is, but hopefully one day I will be able to say what it is. I'm very excited
Probably
about
another interesting phygital project, I'm sure, that you're going to drop.
I don't know.
Look forward to hearing about it.
Yet.
We're going to have to keep reconnecting, Astrid. You're just on the bleeding edge of the fashion and women in tech and all this very interesting, important conversation in Web3. So I really appreciate, having your contact and being able to reach out and kind of have these conversations whenever you're available. So it's been really awesome.
I love it, and I love catching up, David. So
yeah, I still think back to those early Clubhouse days, right? We were the metaverse kind of cheerleaders, like just having random metaverse rooms, talking to people in voxels, and that's where this started. It was a big part of the inspiration for this podcast, for sure. So you're welcome back anytime, Astrid.
2021.
That's it. OG 2021, the crazy times. We've learned a lot since then, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to everybody who is listening and for the questions and comments in the chat. I appreciate you. Thank you, Astrid, for sharing the independent designers and their artwork and their awesome videos. That was really, really amazing. Adds to the show for sure. And just really grateful for this connection and being able to learn more about what's happening in fashion. What was that word again? Near field communication. I'm going to remember that one.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big one. I feel like that it's going to be commonplace like 5 years from now or something. So I'm glad we hammered that one out.
It's going to be in your refrigerator, in your toaster, everything.
Right? Yeah, it's wild. That's the new world, brave new world we're heading into. All right. Well, with that, thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will be back next week with Web3 Warriors. Actually, next week we also have our LinkedIn audio panel, which we do once a month now on LinkedIn on the last Friday of the month. And this one is actually taking place the day before the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation in Canada. So we're going to be talking to Teepee and Zale, who are two Canadian Indigenous artists who are building on the blockchain and also have a very interesting perspective on the concept of reconciliation and what we are working on here in Canada at a societal level, but also how the technology is going to help us kind of push that conversation forward. So that's going to be on LinkedIn on Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. If you want to join us there, please do. And we'll also be live back on Twitch next Saturday as well with another interview. So until then, appreciate y'all. Catch you in the metaverse. Peace out.
Thanks, everyone.